Change requires courage. In my work as a counselor, I always help my clients take responsibility for their own change and help them see the choices they have made. However, I must say that this is not an easy task for anyone, as it requires great courage. Scott Peck, a famous American psychologist, wrote a classic book called The Road Less Traveled. In the book, he tells a story about himself. When he was young, he was too responsible and always filled his work schedule. While his colleagues left work at 4:30 p.m. every day, he would continue to see patients until 8 or 9 p.m. As a result, his wife complained that he never came home and he was exhausted with many grievances. One day, he went to his supervisor and asked if he could take a few weeks off from seeing patients. The supervisor sympathetically said, "Oh, I see you're having trouble." He gratefully replied, "Thank you, what do you think I should do?" The supervisor repeated, "I agree with you. You do have a problem, and it's related to time. It's your own time, not mine, so it's not my problem." If you heard a leader say something like this to you, you would probably be angry. At the time, Dr. Peck was very angry and felt that the supervisor was unreasonable. But 3 months later, he suddenly realized that the supervisor was right. His time was his responsibility, and how he arranged his time was up to him. Spending more time seeing patients was also a result of his own choice. So why did he go to the supervisor in the first place? He was actually saying, "Take responsibility for me. You are my boss, I have no choice, only you can help me choose." You see, a well-trained psychologist will unconsciously push the responsibility of choice onto others, let alone us ordinary people who have not been trained. Therefore, choosing to change is not an easy task, it is difficult and requires courage. However, there is nothing more conducive to self-development than taking a difficult path. Change requires introspection. But courage alone is not enough, we also need the ability to reflect on ourselves. Only by constantly examining ourselves can we trigger change. I have a client whose mother is a very anxious person who often blames and beats her, which has caused her great insecurity. However, when she became a mother herself and had a daughter, she also often criticized her daughter for various reasons. One day she came to me and said, "You know, sometimes I envy my mother. My mother has many problems, but her personality is intact. She never thinks she has any problems, it's always someone else's problem." But over the years, I have read many books and received good education, and I have split into two people. On the one hand, I am very much like my mother, on the other hand, I hate myself for being like her. On the one hand, I keep blaming my daughter, on the other hand, I keep blaming myself for blaming my daughter. I told her, the difference between you and your mother is valuable. Because you have introspection. Reflection is not easy, it can be painful at times, but it is the opportunity for change. Finally, I want to tell you a story. It is said that the famous psychologist Alfred Adler had a 3-sided pillar in his counseling room. One side of the pillar read, "I am pitiful," the other side read, "Others are terrible," and the last side read, "What should I do?" Every time a client came to his counseling room, he would take out his 3-sided pillar and ask the client, "What do you choose to talk about?" Now, if you had a 3-sided pillar in front of you and I asked you the same question, what would you choose?